Hi everyone, welcome back to another video. So we're on with part 2 of doing this little toe tip skid steer bucket. So if you didn't see last week's video, I got the bucket separated from the frame, took the pins out, and then I made some new ones of these, gouged the old ones off, made some new ones of them, chopped these pivots off, and then straighten that arm out. The first job before I do any more with that is I'm just going to knock these bushes out of this ram, and then I can order some of them. See what size they are, order some of them, and then also order some new bushes to make up what I'm going to use for that as well. Right, so I've got them bushes out of there. That first one I tried running a weld round it to shrink it, but it still didn't seem like it wanted to come out. So I just cut through it with a gas. And same as the second one, I just cut straight through that, didn't run a weld round it. I think I managed to cut them out without damaging the bars too much. I don't think I've nicked into them. I maybe just nicked into it a bit at that side, but should be alright. That end didn't have a bush in it. So this other ram, these bushes in this end are not too bad. So I'm going to replace them anyway, but I'm going to wait until I've got the new bushes before I take them out, just in case I can't get any bushes or whatever reason. At least it's still got them in. But this end, that was the end where the pin was stuck, so I think I'll grind that off flat on both sides, and then I'm going to drill a hole through it and then cut some away with the gas and then knock it out. Right, so that's that bit of pin out. That came out easy enough once I'd blown a bit of it away. Yeah, no damage in there, so that's good. I'd say the ram seals maybe aren't very good in that ram by how easy it pushes in and out. But yeah, I'll leave the rams for now until I get some bushes, and then I'll also decide what to do with that end of that ram. But yeah, I'll get back on with this now and do these pivots on here. So yeah, I'll cut 2 bits of 60mm off, 100mm long, that I'll make into the pivots for them. I've already got the 60mm on here from a previous job, so cut some chunks off that and use that. I got both of them cut out, cut off, got one in the lathe ready to go. So in last week's video, I asked, just as a bit of a talking point, whether you'd line bar it when you weld these on, or whether you'd bar them out to size in the lathe, then put a bar through and weld them on that way. Now, I'm perfectly capable of making that decision myself. I just thought it'd be a good talk among yourselves type of thing in the comments. Sort of mixed. Some people said line bar it, some people just said it's not worth it, just weld them on, put a bar through, and then if you need to, you can either hand ream it or use a flappy wheel to get it back to size. Now, if I was putting one pin all the way through, then I would definitely line bar it. But because I'm only using short pins, sort of like 170, 180mm long, I don't think it's worth the time to line bar it. I think it'd just be too expensive and yeah, just not necessary for what it is. So yeah, what I'm going to do is I'm going to drill these out to sort of 39mm, then ream them out to 40mm, square them off and chamfer them or what have you, and then have a bit of 40mm bar, put a bit of 40mm bar through both of them, sit them on there, line them up with that bottom tube probably, get it square, and then tack them on, make sure the pin still moves, and then weld them round. And then if I need to do afterwards, I can run a little hand ream them through to 40mm or just flappy wheel them out. I think, yeah, line barring is just too excessive, I think. If it was one continuous pin all the way through, then I would, yeah, then I'd line bar it, but because it's short pins at either side, I don't think it needs it. Right, so I've got them new pivots drilled and reamed out to 40mm. And I have this bit of 40mm round bar here, so I can slide them on the end. Like that. One can go on there, and the other on this end. And then we can lift that lot onto here, and then use that bar to line them up. Before I do that, I'm just going to grind these out and sort of V them out so there's a space for the weld to go, because they are about the same width as that, so they won't V out. Also V that bit out where I cut through it and there as well, and weld them back up. Right, so I've got that sat on there now, and it does actually measure from when I measure from underneath that pin, or underneath that bar down to them new bits there that I've welded in. It measures the same either side, and then when I look down this bar to that bottom tube, it looks parallel, but it's just not quite sat tight up around there. So I might just grind a little bit more out of there to get that to sit in better, because if I try and weld that up now, there's a sort of a gap to fill which will pull quite a lot. There'll be more distortion. If I can get it to sit tighter onto this, then there'll be less distortion, and obviously less welding to do, not a gap to fill. So I've got a few tacks around them now, and the bar still turns, so that's good. And then when I measure from underneath there to the bottom of that hole, we've got sort of bang on 500. And when I measure this side as well, we've got bang on 500, near enough. I'm not fussy to half a mil or so. And then when you sight it down that way, it looks bang on parallel with that bottom tube. And then I've also put a straight edge on there, and I'm going to put a straight edge on here. You can see that they're bang on parallel, if it'll focus. So I'd say I'm about right at that. So yeah, I think I'll tip it on its end now. Weld round there, weld round there, weld round there, weld round there, and then tip it the other way up and do the same on the other side. Don't know where to leave the bar in, but push it as far through that way so there's nothing sticking through, and weld it up with the bar in, and then it will be easier to knock out because I've only got that bit to knock it through. Or whether just take it out and weld it up without the bar in. Right, so that is that all welded up. I tacked that bit of plate on the bottom so that when I welded them bits up, I didn't want it to pull that leg in or move it, whatever. So I thought just with a bit of extra strength, I'll just quickly tack that bit in, and then it holds them legs from moving. Anyway, I'll knock that round bar out now, I think, while they're still hot. And it might knock out easier. That's the bar out and the plate off the bottom. So they have nipped up a little bit of them. It took a bit of knocking out. I warmed this one up. Once I'd warmed that one up, it sort of pulled out. I could pull it out by hand and then knocked it a bit of the way out. So I might just run the reamer through them again. But yeah, that's them welded round and then all them welded round. So that's that bit done. There isn't anything else to do with that. I have to put the bushes in. So yeah, I'll move that out of the way and then we'll have a go at this bucket. Probably have to turn that upside down to get in underneath and see what's what under there. Right, so we got the bucket sort of laid on its back, and then in here there's some like round bushes welded onto the side, and then where the rams go on, there's some like big chunks of plate with a hole through them. So I might have to gouge them off, make some new ones of them, and then make some new ones of them. Looks like it's coming away there. I might have to sort that out as well. The other side's worse. That shouldn't take too much sorting, providing I can get all the crap out of there. But yeah, I think I'll give it a wash off underneath there, then I can see better what I'm doing, what's what. I might just do it with a needle gun, I think, or the air chisel. Save getting it all wet. I think I'll spin it round the other way and then turn it completely upside down, and then have the tines sat in there like that. So that is on the top, and it'd be easy to work on. So sometimes when you're picking buckets up like this, depending on where the centre of balance is, if you're not careful, they can go back over the way, all the way over. So you pick up nice and slow and then make sure they're not going to overbalance. Right, so I've been in here now with the air chisel. I managed to chisel quite a bit of that rust out. Still a bit more yet, but the sides are still quite thick. Well, compared to what it was originally. It is only a lightweight bucket still, but yeah, in here looks a bit of a mess. So it's all rotten away. Of that, the original plate must have rotted away, and then someone's plated over the top of that from the other side. And then that looks like that's broken out at some point, and then that's all welded there. And it's had that bit extra welded in because it doesn't have that at that side. And yeah, everything in here is worn out. So these blocks are what the pin goes through for the ram. They're worn out. So they're no good. I'll have to get rid of them. They're even worse. So yeah, I think I'm gonna have to gouge everything out of there and start again. So when you look on the inside, you can see that plate there has been welded over the top of where it's rusted through. The side's not as bad, still pulled away there, but doesn't look like that side's actually rotted through. It does feel thin though. Yeah, I'll gouge everything out of there, use arcade gouger and gouge these welds away, get these blocks out, get them out, get rid of that lot, and then I'll have to chop out this rotten bit, and then I'll decide whether to chop this plate out as well and replace that, or leave that in and then weld these blocks back onto that plate, because obviously can't weld to anything in there anymore. Right, so we've got them blocks gouged out. but I think what I'm going to have to do now is gouge this plate out as well, because it's that thin, the original plate, and then it's been plated over. You can see also in that corner, when I knocked that off, it started to pull the side away as well, so I think it's rotten. This side piece is rotten in that corner there. It's a bit of a bad design. There's like a ledge there on top of the edge where all the stuff can sit, and that's why it's rotted that out, I think. You can see in there, and now with a bit of light what it's like. Not very nice. So yeah, I think I'll gouge all the way down the side of there now and get rid of these bits, and then at least I'm back to a good bit underneath, hopefully. This bolt on edge is strange. Usually a bolt on edge is reversible, so they'd have a chamfer at this side as well, so then when it's worn out you turn the whole thing round, but it's just blunt on the other side. Yeah, so I can tell you what I'm not doing today. Having fun. This is right, so we've about got all that gouged out now, got that rotten plate gouged out. So we just need to do the same on this side now. I've got them two blocks out as well, they're in there, and then them bushes to weld on the side. I just washed them away. But anyway, I burnt through that plate there, so obviously that plate's pretty thin as well, because it's got that bit welded over it on the other side. So I think I'll just gouge down here, get rid of this plate, the same as what I did at the other side. And then when we make some new ones of them, we'll weld them back onto the plate that's underneath. It's a bit thicker. You can see on here this has been welded up before, so, and it's not really flat, isn't that anymore, it's at a bit of an angle, so I'm probably going to have to chop some of this out and replace some of this side as well. I get a lot of comments as well saying, is it a viable repairing stuff like this? And the answer is yes, because I don't think people realise how expensive stuff like this is new. So the bit of time that I spend, the bit of materials, there's a fair bit of work involved, but it's still nowhere near the price of what a new one would be. And although these bits aren't very good, the rest of the bucket's alright. You know, that frame's alright there, so you can't go scrapping all that lot just because a few pivots are worn out. So that's that bit of plate gouged out as well now from what was in there. If I can, it'd be good to get a run of weld all the way around that, but how well it'll weld up, I have to give it a good clean up. You can see there's a bit of welding that wants gouging out and re-welding as well. Around there, and there's a bit on the other side. For some reason they haven't been welded onto the edge. Usually they're welded onto the edge, but they haven't been. So maybe gouge them out and weld them up as well. Right, so I'm going to have to do some cutting out on this side, I think, because when you look in there where that had been welded on, you can see it's ripped around there, and I think that front corner is completely rotted away, same as what like this plate had. And then I can also see where that block had been welded on. Looks like there's a crack down through there, where it's cracked at that side as well. And then with this all been opened up and full of rust, I think I'm better off just chopping down there, replacing that bit. I've still got this hole here from a reference of where that needs to be, but there's just, if I try and weld a new bit on there, there's going to be nothing left to weld to, so I think I'm going to have to replace some of that. Looks like there's maybe quite a bit gone missing from in there as well. A bit of a nightmare job this, but we'll get there with it. Yes, I think I'll cut along the underside of that with a big grinder. Don't want to go too close to that hole. I want to leave that there and then I know where that is. And then I'll have to cut down these bits of weld and then just replace sort of a strip across there. So I've about got each side cleaned up now, enough to start putting it back together. So I've chopped a strip out of there as well, the same as what I did on the other side. Got rid of that crappy bit at the front and all that rusty stuff that was in there. Same at this side. And then gouged sort of down there, so hopefully that'll be good enough to weld up now. If I get a weld around the inside as well. So for these side strips, I was going to try and draw them with the hole in and the angles and that on the end, but I've got these off-cut bits from another job, I can't remember what they were left over from, but if I cut the angle on the end just with the hand plasma, offer it up in there, then I can hole saw through back where that hole is and then just draw around this end and cut around this end. It'd be easier than trying to draw it all up on the computer screen. Yeah, I'll get that end chopped off. I'm going to use my little Jasic plasma with its own compressor. Just give that a go, see how that goes. I've used it before, but I just thought use it on this. So yeah, I'll get them made for that. Right, so I've got both of them plates tacked in now. So we'll have a go at welding them in, but I'm not sure how well that'll weld up because like where the seam is will all be full of rust and stuff, crap, and when you try and weld it it'll probably bubble out, but we'll have a go and see if we can weld that up as well. Right, so that is it all welded up now under there. Maybe weld over that when when it's the right way up. That didn't weld up too bad. There's a bit there that's not very good. I ground it out. It's still, there's a bubble there you can see, but it's not the end of the world. It is welded up from the other side as well, so I'm not too concerned about that. This side welded up better. And then, yeah, where I cut it off is slightly lower. The other side, it's sort of welded onto the side, and that bit where this bit is just sort of welded onto the side. So when it's back the right way up, I'll weld over that so it's welded onto there as well. I've welded around that hole as well for a bit of extra strength, and then I'll drill through that. As long as my hole saw's bigger than 30mm, it'll be all right. So yeah, that's sort of give me a good base to go off now. Yeah, I'll have to make some more of these to go back in there. And for these pivots, I think I'll make something better than just them. Probably make them out of 25mm plate, or however thick that is, to fill in there, and then it's not just that. Right, so I've got them holes all sawed through there. So that should do that. So I used some anchor lube on the hole saw when I was cutting through there. So this is just a little plug for Mike that sells it. So Mike's a subscriber, he often comments on my videos, and he sells this ankle lube on eBay. So he sells it in these size like that, which is 8 ounce, whatever that is, 236 millimeters. Or the bigger one, 16 ounce, 473 milliliters, or the tub like that, which is 8 ounce again. I think I prefer it in the tub with a brush, and then you can get it where you need it. But yeah, it's definitely good gear. It's surprising. I was surprised how good it is. You can sort of tell the difference in the swath. If you're cutting without it, and then you're cutting with it, you can. There's a big difference. It's quite. Yeah, it's good gear. Yeah, so if you want any of that, I'll put the links in the description for each sizes. So I'm going to make some new ones of these now. So these are 50mm. So we'll cut some new ones of them out. They just need 5mm more on the bottom because of this plate in here that's no longer there, like the original plate. So I've got that drawn. I'm not going to cut the hole out, we'll drill the hole. And then that's 4 of them ready to go there. And we'll flame cut them out. I was going to try this as well, I've not tried this before, but so that's where it'll start. It'll cut around that shape, and then it'll come to there, and it'll come out to there, and that's where it'll stop. That's where the lead out stops. But then I've made the lead in for the next one end where the lead out for that one finishes. So I'm hoping, well, I shouldn't have to pierce through the plate every time, because it will start cutting from where it finished cutting. Same with that one. I was going to join them all together, so then it cuts it all out as one shape, and then I've just got to cut through a bit. But I thought I'd try it like this. I'll just have 2 pierces to do instead of 4, hopefully. Yeah, I'll drop that bucket off somewhere, just have a bit of sweep up, and then I'll bring some 50mm plate in, sit it on there. Right, that's them cut out. That sort of worked, but when it was coming across here for the lead out, it sort of runs out of steel to cut, and then it stops cutting, so there is another piercing there. Yeah, they've cut out nice. A bit of a crappy bit there where my lead in and lead out trick sort of didn't quite work. I didn't leave enough space, but that's not really going to be a problem. So yeah, I'll give them a clean up. Now, I'm sure I had a 30mm reamer, but I can't find it. I've ordered a new one off eBay, second-hand one, 25 quid. Can't really fall off for 25 quid. But that won't be coming till next week, so I think what I'll do is I'll mark them where the hole centre needs to be, and then I think I'll set them up in a 4-jaw chuck on the lathe, drill them through and then bore them through with a bar to get to 30mm. Right, so what I'm hoping I can do now I've got that centre mark, is open the 4-jaw up, put that in, and then push the tailstock up again and get the tailstock centre into the centre mark, and then tighten the chuck down. Hopefully that'll hold it. Right, so we've got all them bored through now in the lathe. They weren't too bad to do. Do a nice tight fit on the pin. So they just want a chamfer putting on them, and then on this corner to sit over that weld, because otherwise it's sat on the weld. And then hopefully that should line up something like with that. But I think before I weld them on, I want to make the top pivots, and then I might see if I can offer that frame up into there with the pivots in, and then tack them in place with that in there to line it all up. Whether I'll be able to put the rams in and do the same with them and reach through there, put the pin through, reach through there and tack them in with the ram in place, and then I know if both rams are in, then they're going to be in the same place at both sides. Yeah, but these pivots here, I wanted to see if I can make something that will also weld onto here as well as the sides, and then it's a bit stronger than it was before. Right, so that's them chamfered. Just took a slither off with the plasma and then just smoothed them off with the grinder. And then that's one of them clamped in there now. The clamp's just pulling it off a little bit, but that lines up with that hole. See, that hole's bigger because it's worn. But yeah, that's how that's going to go. Yeah, like I said, now I just want to make something, a plate of this pivot that sort of welds onto there as well. I drew that paper template just to get just easier way of seeing where my hole center was, and then I've drawn that. I've just trimmed a bit off it and tidied it up a bit, so I think I'll cut 4 of them out for my front pivots. Yeah, so that fits in there just like I want it to. I was just thinking before I cut the other 2 out, I'll actually cut a hole out in there, but slightly smaller, and then it's less for me to drill out afterwards. So I've got them cut out. They're like a 27mm hole, I think they are. It's quite nice, it's that 27mm hole in 25mm plate. So yeah, I think what I'll do with these is I'll tack them onto them. I'll tack them together, and then I can use this hole to line it up in the tailstock, same as what I did with them other ones. And then I'll have to drill that bottom plate out while it's tacked together, and then bore them through to size. But you've already seen me do that with them other plates, so I'm not going to record that. I'm just going to get on and get them done. So yeah, I'll be back in a minute once I've got them done. Right, there we are, that's them drilled through, bored out to 30mm. So I think I'm going to put these on either side of here with a pin through, and then yeah, I'm going to offer that up onto here, get it all squared up, and then tack them in, and then do the same with the rams. I think that'll be the best way to do it. I'm just not quite sure whether my bushes have come in yet for there, so I'll have to see if they've come in. He said the bushes for the rams have come, but they were the wrong size. They were 34mm OD instead of 35, so he's had to order some more of them. So yeah, I'll have to get them. What I'm thinking I might do with these is I might drill them and tap them and put a grease nipple in there rather than through the pin. Well, I don't think I really have a way of drilling it, because the pins are quite long, of drilling a hole through to the middle of the pin. I don't think I'll have a small enough and long enough drill to do that. And I'd rather the grease nipples be in here and in the end of the ram rather than in the pin, because then if the pin wears out and someone puts a bolt through again like it was, at least it's still greasable because the grease nipple is on here. It's not relying on the pin. So if there's one there, you should be able to get to it with the bucket tipped forward. If there's one on the back of the ram, you should be able to reach through from there, from the other side, to grease the ram, I'm thinking. Then the other end of the ram, I'll have to put a grease nipple somewhere on that. I'll have to decide where's the best place to put that. Right, so while I wait to see what's happening with the bushes, you can see these cracks across here. I'm gonna gouge these out and re-weld them. It looks like it's sort of worn that weld away. So gouge that out and re-weld that as well. Right, so I've got them bits gouged out and welded back up. So a little bit of vertical MIG over that, filled in that edge. They took a bit of welding up because there's like a chamfer on the back of the edge, and in there was all full of rust and crap. So to chisel it out with the air chisel and then blow it out and then weld it up, it was all bubbly, so I had to grind it out a couple of times. Anyway, I've got them welded back on, so that should hold the back of the edge a bit better. And then same on this side, so that's all that sorted. I've just remembered it's Good Friday tomorrow, so if my bushes don't come today, then I'm not going to get them till Saturday, and then was it Easter Monday on Monday, so possibly Tuesday. So I really want to get this frame sort of mounted back onto the bucket. So what I might do is I might cut some 40mm bar off and bar it through to 30mm and make some just temporary bushes. And then at least I can get that frame offered up onto the bucket and get the blocks for the pivots tacked in and welded in. Yes, I think I'll do that. I'll just cut off some 100mm long bits of 40mm round bar and bar it out to 30mm for the pin to fit through. Right, so I'll just machine these up to go in there to make up for the bushes. It sort of fits halfway in and then it goes tight, so I think I'll have to go through there with a reamer just by hand to, it would knock in. Just to open it out a bit, obviously it's distorted a bit when I welded it up. Right, so I've got them bushes put in there. I've ground up in here where it all needs to be welded, where the new bits are going in. I've chamfered them off to go over them welds. And what else have I done? I've cut another bit of pin, just as a mock-up pin. So yeah, I think we're about ready to offer the other bit up into there now. So I'll get that sat over there somewhere with an axle stand under it, so it's sort of leaning down a bit. And then we'll lift the other bit over the top, sit it onto them stops, and then put the legs into there. And then we'll have to slot them plates in and put the pins through and then get it squared up. So that's sat in there now with the pins through and the plates in. So it's just going to take a bit of moving about. So I want that pin to be in the middle of that hole. And it's not quite at the moment, and that plate is not touching. So yeah, I'll have to make sure that's all straight and square with itself. I think their plate's going to be a bit of a nightmare to weld in because it's sort of touching there but not there, so there's going to be a bit of a gap. So when I weld it, the weld will pull it out of shape a bit and it will bind up on the pin. But I suppose once I weld it in, I can, when my reamer comes, I can reamer through. But yeah, they should be a lot stronger than what it was originally, just with them crappy collars welded on the sides. But yeah, you get the idea. I think I'm going to make that do for this video because I haven't really time to do any more now. So yeah, apologies for not getting it finished in this video. You're probably as sick of seeing it as I am now. I don't know whether I'll do a part 3 or whether I'll just do the rest of it as part of another video. See how we get on next week. But yeah, are you all still enjoying the videos? I try to not miss any parts out, which usually means they end up being long, but I don't want to miss any of the process out of the job. So yeah, anyway. Hope you've all enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.